The NBA draft lottery is passed and the Celtics have the #1 pick. All of the tiebreakers have been awarded and the entire draft order is finally set. This draft class projects as one of the most talented classes in recent memory. It's a perfect combination of a deep and talented class of prospects paired with a number of premier big market franchises picking at the top of the draft. The Celtics and the Lakers could create a lot of drama heading into the draft, with rumors of them willing to trade their pick for a proven superstar like Jimmy Butler or Paul George. Stay tuned for my 4th and final mock draft for the 2017 draft class. What a time to be a Boston Celtics fan. It's rare that a team that has the best record in the conference also had the #1 pick in the draft. The excitement doesn't end after the Celtics season, but it continues with the possibilities of who they can bring in with the first pick to make the team even more lethal. They could trade this pick for a proven superstar, which would be the best option in my opinion. But if they keep the pick, there's only one prospect worthy of being the first pick in this draft. With the first pick in the draft, the Boston Celtics draft Markelle Fultz from the University of Washington. Much like Ben Simmons before, a losing record in college will not affect his draft position. The scoring potential, playmaking ability, and long-term upside is too obvious. Plays a fast-paced game and is always in attack mode. He has the size and length of a 2 guard. Markelle will be a tough cover for any guard on the next level. Even though guard is not a need for the Celtics, passing up this guy would be foolish. He can play alongside Isaiah at the 2 guard spot, or maybe the Celtics will look to trade Isaiah by the trade deadline next season. All in all, it's a good problem to have for the Boston Celtics. For the 4th year in a row, the Lakers were one of the worst teams in the NBA. This is the 5th youngest roster in the league. Growing pains were always the expectation, but progress may take longer than expected. In his 2 seasons with the Golden State Warriors, Luke Walton was the assistant coach for a team that finished 2nd and 1st in assist rate. This selfless system will eventually trickle down, but it takes time. Last season, ball movement was not a staple of the Lakers' offense. There is one prospect in particular that could solve this problem right away. With the 2nd pick in the draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Lonzo Ball from UCLA. The much-hyped playmaker will bring new flow and approach to the Lakers' offense. Ball changed the culture at UCLA as he excelled as a pass-first point guard. Last season, D'Angelo Russell was at his best when he was in scoring mode. These 2 young studs could feed off each other and provide the offense the consistency it needs. Ball needs to be in a situation where he's not looked at as the #1 scoring option like Markelle Fultz could become. With Russell and Ingram on the roster, Ball can be what he was meant to be, a playmaker. But he will have to step up on defense. He was inconsistent on that side of the floor last season. It seemed like a long time ago around the beginning of this year, when Embiid was still healthy, that the team was starting to win games and there was hope for actually making the playoffs. Embiid went down with a knee injury and the team went back to old reliable, tanking. And also their #1 pick Ben Simmons didn't play 1 game this season. After 82 grueling games, the Sixers just won 28 games, finishing with the 4th worst record in the league. Philly will likely take a hard look at Tatum and Jackson with this pick. De'Aaron Fox and Ben Simmons aren't exactly ideal fits because of their lack of shooting. With the 3rd pick in the draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Jayson Tatum from Duke University. With Ben Simmons serving as the point forward and Joel Embiid anchoring the paint, Tatum can slide into his role at the wing position. Tatum is a skilled ball handler and can score the ball in a variety of ways. He's the best wing scorer in the draft. Although his bread and butter is from mid-range, he shot 34% from 3, which is important playing alongside Simmons and Embiid. He has the potential to be a solid 3-point shooter on the next level. He could be the team's 2nd scorer behind Embiid, while Simmons can focus more on facilitating, his best attribute. There's no denying that talent is on the Phoenix Suns roster, but it's a lot of young talent. With Ulis, Booker, Bender, Chris, and Derrick Jones, the Suns roster featured 5 players 21 years old or younger. Devin Booker had a great season. Although he had some rough games throughout, he made nice strides toward being the franchise player. Booker is the piece that the Suns can build around for the next decade. But this young squad was inconsistent the whole year, finishing in the bottom 10 on both offense and defense. So it would be ideal for the Suns to find a player that can impact the offensive end and the defensive end. With the 4th pick in the draft, the Phoenix Suns select Josh Jackson from Kansas University. Jackson feels a pressing need at the small forward spot for the Suns. I believe they would consider Jackson even if they had the second pick, and it wouldn't have been a reach because he's a very talented prospect. He will provide this young team a creative athletic wing, multi-dimensional scorer, playmaker, and a defensive-minded combo forward all rolled into one. Jackson is an intense competitor with a great motor. He probably will never average 25 points in a season, but he could be one of the most valuable players on a championship-level team. Sacramento finished with a 32-50 record, and for the 11th consecutive season, they missed the playoffs. Despite the up-and-down season, the Kings gave the fans and media plenty to talk about this season, with opening the new arena and saying goodbye to an all-star at the trade deadline. DeMarcus Cousins has been often called the best big man in the NBA, averaging around 24 points and 12 rebounds per game as a King. The Kings pulled the plug and traded Cousins to New Orleans for Buddy Hield and a first-round pick, and that opened up more PT for the young players, and they all showed promise in some form or fashion. But the two glaring holes on the roster is the point guard and small forward position. And with the 5th pick in the draft, the Sacramento Kings select De'Aaron Fox from the University of Kentucky. Fox has a very quick first step, great speed, and good leaping ability. He is an excellent floor general who loves to set up his teammates. He has an alpha dog mentality and won't go down without a fight. He's a very disruptive defender with long arms and quick hands, which leads to a lot of deflections and steals. He definitely needs to improve his shooting, but his shooting form looks promising. The Kings could possibly have the best point guard in the draft. For the 5th consecutive season, the Magic will miss the playoffs. They were inconsistent as usual and could never find the right lineup to boost the team to more than 29 wins. The GM, Rob Hennigan, and assistant GM, Scott Perry, were recently fired. Alfred Payton played better after the All-Star break when the Magic pushed the pace on offense. Payton had 5 triple-doubles in the final 24 games. The Orlando Magic needs a player that can simply get buckets. Finding a consistent score has been the Magic's problem for a while now. And with the 6th pick in the draft, the Orlando Magic select Malik Monk from the University of Kentucky. The Magic would happily take Monk in his dead-eye shooting. They desperately need outside shooting and a scoring punch, and Monk can provide both. He can get his shots from curling off screens, off the dribble, with a hand in his face, or off balance. Now his ball handling needs to get much better to thrive on the next level because he's an undersized 2-guard with a mediocre wingspan. But he's a clutch player who doesn't shy away from the big moments. With a core of Towns, who's considered by most a generational talent, Wiggins, who could be a lethal scorer, and Zach LaVine, a crazy athletic guard with raw talent, many predicted the Timberwolves will make the playoffs for the first time in 13 years. One glaring weakness was their bench. The Timberwolves were dead last in the NBA in bench scoring, but the most disappointing player on the team was their 5th pick, Chris Dunn. Although he was very solid defensively, he was dreadful on offense, finishing last on the team in field goal percentage. Minnesota needs outside shooting in the worst way. They could benefit from a prospect who is versatile defensively and also have scoring potential. With the 7th pick in the draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Jonathan Isaac from Florida State University. In my opinion, Isaac has one of the highest ceilings in the draft. He is agile for his size, has tangible skills on the wing, and can guard up to 3 positions. Isaac proved to have slashing potential and can hit pull-up jumpers. He has the tools to become a solid ISO scorer if he tightened up his ball handling. He showed an elevated level of intensity throughout his freshman season, but to consistently play at the 4, he has to add strength. At this point, he's much more of a wing defender than a rim protector. He is the biggest boom or bust player in the entire draft, in my opinion. The New York Knicks have missed the playoffs for the 3rd consecutive season. Over those seasons since Phil Jackson took over as president of basketball operations, the Knicks have won 77 games and lost 162. The 5th worst winning percentage in the NBA. 3 of the 4 teams with a worse record than the Knicks over that span, the Timberwolves, the Sixers, and the Lakers, are all better situated with a brighter future and a better young core. The only thing that the Knicks got going for them is Kristaps Porzingis and Willy Hernangomez. Phil Jackson isn't going anywhere soon, and he's insisting on running the triangle. If that's the case, you would think they would draft a prospect who best fits that offense. With the 8th pick in the draft, the New York Knicks select Frank Ntilikina from France. Whether he's distributing in pick and rolls, shooting from distance, or defending, Ntilikina is the right fit for the triangle offense. He is a very long, quick, and athletic guard with natural playmaking ability. He has enough size and leaping ability to finish in the lane through contact. The Knicks have huge flexibility with drafting Ntilikina at this pick. He is versatile enough to run the point or play the two-guard position. Knicks still have the luxury of pursuing a point guard in free agency, and if they strike out, Ntilikina can slide right over and play the point guard position. After the first month of the season, you would have thought the Mavericks were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. They were able to turn it around somewhat by the play of Harrison Barnes, Seth Curry, and Yogi Ferrell. After a roller coaster of a season, battling injuries and trying to find their identity, the Mavericks finished with a 33-49 record. The Mavericks entered the offseason with a clear need for a starting caliber point guard and depth at the wing and post positions. Because of a deep draft, the Mavericks are in position to have a top prospect fall right into their lap. With the 9th pick in the draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Dennis Smith Jr. from North Carolina State University. Normally in the draft by the 9th pick, you won't be in position to draft a prospect as talented as this guy. Dennis Smith is an explosive point guard who will be a very talented scorer on the next level. He puts a ton of pressure on the defense with his relentless nature to attack the rim. He showed he could be a solid outside shooter, but he needs to continue to improve in that area. Defensive focus is another area where he can improve. With Smith on board, the Mavericks could be right back in playoff contention next season. There's no doubt that the Mavericks will get a steal with the 9th pick by selecting Dennis Smith Jr. Courtesy of the DeMarcus Cousins trade, the next pick goes to the Kings. After addressing the point guard position with the 8th pick, the next spot they need to address is the small forward position. At this point of the draft, there are no worthy candidates. It will be a reach to draft OG Anunoby at this point, so they might have to settle for a stretch 4 to back up Skal Labissière. With the 10th pick in the draft, the Sacramento Kings select Lauri Markkanen from the University of Arizona. Lauri is a mobile and coordinated big man with a smooth perimeter game. At 7 feet tall, he can handle the ball and bury shots off the dribble. Markkanen took a high volume of three-point attempts at Arizona and still shot over 40%. He'll be a nice addition off the bench playing behind Skal Labissière. His interior defense is his biggest weakness, and he's not a good rim protector or a good rebounder. Adding strength is a must for him to have a long and successful NBA career. After winning 48 games last year, the Hornets regressed and missed the playoffs. And with a projected salary cap around $102 million, making a major move in free agency most likely is not going to happen. So the Hornets really need to hit with this draft pick. But the Hornets don't have the track record of making good draft picks in the last couple of years. And last year, they traded their first-round pick for mediocre swingman Marco Bellinelli. The Hornets will likely look at a couple of young and talented big men at this spot. And with the 11th pick in the draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Justin Patton from Creighton University. I believe Patton has one of the biggest upsides in the entire draft, but it may take some time for him to put it all together. He offers the best combination of proven skills and long-term potential. He has great mobility and coordination for a player his size. Not only does he impact the game in the paint, he can also step out and hit the three-point shot. Patton has the offensive tools, and he can also impact the game on the other end. His interior defense and rebounding ability makes him the complete package at the 5 spot. Like I said earlier, it may take some time for him to reach his full potential, but if he does, he could be a perennial all-star center. The Detroit Pistons were a team that struggled to function together as a unit. While Andre Drummond had a sluggish season compared to last year's All-Star campaign, his teammates couldn't pick up the slack on a nightly basis. Reggie Jackson struggled to find his form from the previous season with a knee injury. For a number of games, he was replaced in the starting lineup by Ish Smith because of his ineffectiveness. Drummond and Jackson were reportedly on the trading block last year, which spoke volumes about how the team performed throughout the season. Even though the Pistons drafted Henry Ellison last year, an upgrade at that spot could be the direction the team goes in the draft. With the 12th pick in the draft, the Detroit Pistons select Zach Collins from Gonzaga University. Collins offers a mix of physical gifts and a refined skill set. After dominating the paint in his freshman season, especially in the NCAA tournament, he emerged as a top 3 big man in the 2017 draft. He also is a knockdown three-point shooter. His shooting mechanics are smooth with a high release point. He'll become a floor spacer that the Detroit Pistons desperately needs. His post game is advanced for a young player. He has decent foot speed on defense and is a solid shot blocker. He is versatile enough to play the 4 and the 5. So if the Pistons get to the point where they can get a great deal for Andre Drummond in a trade, Collins will be more than capable to man the 5 spot. Due to injuries and lineup experimenting, the Nuggets struggled at the beginning of the season. Once coach Mike Malone found the right combination of players, the Nuggets started to flash the potential that most people never knew they had. More importantly, the Nuggets discovered a hidden gem. After enduring a rough stretch where he was playing out of position and in and out of the lineup, Nikola Jokic started to hit his stride during the beginning of the new year. Nikola's rise gives the franchise a fighting chance. But the one thing this team needs to improve on is defense. Coach Mike Malone ripped his team mid-season, saying his team was the worst defensive team in the NBA. Drafting a defensive player in the first round could be a priority. With the 13th pick in the draft, the Denver Nuggets select OG Anunoby from Indiana University. Despite his season-ending knee injury, this guy will be worth the investment at 13. The Nuggets are screaming for defensive help, and Anunoby is a talented prospect who's part of the solution. He has rare physical attributes with a 7'2" wingspan for a small forward. Anunoby is a powerful and athletic prospect. His offensive game consists of mainly attacking the rim in the open floor and hitting catch-and-shoot jumpers, the classic 3-and-D player. Going into training camp for the Miami Heat, there were already tension in the air. They had lost 2 key members on the team in Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. There were so many new faces, and a lot of trust had to be built. This team started off 11-30, and everything was pointing to a lost season. But Coach Spoelstra never let up and brought the team together, and the team embarked on a historical turnaround. This team went from 11-30 and finished 30-11 to end up with a 41-41 record, never letting go of the rope. With James Johnson and Josh McRoberts both questionable to return next season, the Heat might seek a power forward in the draft. With the 14th pick in the draft, the Miami Heat select John Collins from Wake Forest University. Collins is a big-time athlete and has improved dramatically from his freshman season. He demolished opponents in his sophomore season with an improved low-post game and a more powerful presence on the glass. He has good defensive upside and uses his leaping ability to alter a lot of shots in the lane. His offensive game is still developing, but he has shown the willingness to improve his game. John Collins is an upside pick who could take a few years to develop into a solid two-way player. The Blazers have 12 players making $131 million in guaranteed contracts next season, and they're not necessarily looked at as a title contender at this moment. The Blazers have 3 first-round picks in the draft, so it's unlikely that the Blazers bring in 3 rookies on the roster next season. They might package 1 or 2 of them to get rid of a bad contract or select a draft and stash prospect. But with their first pick, they might look to draft a backup center who can defend the paint. With the 15th pick in the draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Jarrett Allen from the University of Texas. He will give the Blazers an athletic option in the front court. Allen covers a ton of square footage with his near 7'6" wingspan, which makes him an interesting defensive prospect. The Blazers could bring in Allen for rim protection behind Nurkic, who will earn his money on offense and rebounding. Although Allen's low post skills are still raw, he shows good coordination around the rim and can finish through contact. Allen might not ever be an elite post scorer, but he could be serviceable on offense, along with being a good rebounder. To call the Bulls season a roller coaster ride would be an understatement. Most people didn't expect great things with the roster the front office put together. But if the Bulls play their cards right, they could be in for a pleasant surprise in free agency because they have enough cap space to bring in a max player. Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade could be vital in recruiting an all-star level player to Chicago. Whether the Bulls choose to reload or rebuild, they definitely need youth and outside shooting, particularly at the wing spot. With the 16th pick in the draft, the Chicago Bulls select Terrence Ferguson. Ferguson struggled with consistency in Australia's NBL during his first year out of high school. But 2 things he showcased was his proven ability to knock down spot-up jumpers and his tremendous athleticism. The Bulls need some youth and athleticism on the wing, and Ferguson fits the bill. He's got good height for a two-guard and is quick and graceful in the open court. His physical tools give him good upside as a defender. Despite losing the former number 2 pick to another knee injury, the Bucks were greatly improved as a cohesive unit compared to the previous season. This squad inspired hope to a fan base that haven't had it since Ray Allen was on the team. Giannis had a spectacular season and has emerged as a bona fide superstar. He could be the best player in the league in a couple of years. This team never had a chance to have their best 3 players on the court at the same time this season. As soon as Chris Middleton came back, Jabari Parker went down. Outside shooting is something the Bucks could use more of to open up the lane for the Greek Freak and Jabari. With the 17th pick in the draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Justin Jackson from the University of North Carolina. The 2017 NCAA champ will bring a soft scoring touch, passing vision, and defensive quickness to the Bucks' wing spot. Jackson significantly improved his three-point stroke at North Carolina, and there's no reason to think the improvement will stop once he gets to the NBA. He's a team-first guy who contributes in all aspects of the game. The Indiana Pacers have big decisions to make this offseason, as the franchise player Paul George seems unhappy and is just a year away from free agency. They also have a lot of aging veterans on the roster that might have peaked already. With Larry Bird stepping down, it only magnifies the importance of this offseason. Should the Pacers try to reload the roster around Paul George to try to convince him to stay, or do they pull the plug and start from scratch? What they need in the draft is outside shooting from a wing player or a big man. With the 18th pick in the draft, the Indiana Pacers select TJ Leaf from UCLA. Leaf is a fundamentally sound, highly skilled power forward. He's a dead-eye shooter from deep, catches the ball well, and has a great touch around the rim and a nice array of face-up moves. An underrated part of his game is his passing ability. Leaf is a good passer who has a great feel for the flow of the game on offense. He isn't a strong post defender or a rim protector, but he did hold his own on the glass in college. Leaf will make his money in the league on the offensive end of the court. While some fans may deem this season a failure for the Hawks, the results probably was the most realistic outcome that anyone could have predicted. The Hawks went through a roster turnover last summer. They had their share of ups and downs this season. Tim Hardaway Jr. had a breakout year and is due for a big payday as he will be a restricted free agent in July. The question is, do the Atlanta Hawks break the bank for him, or do they replace him in this draft? With the 19th pick in the draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Donovan Mitchell from the University of Louisville. Mitchell is an extremely athletic and aggressive player who continuously attacks the rim. He improved his outside shooting from his freshman year, enough to where his defenders guarded him tightly on the perimeter, which opened up driving opportunities. Defensively, he's a pest, as he has a huge 6'10" wingspan, which allows him to get into the passing lanes and get deflections and steals. Mitchell is a great option for the Hawks if they decide that Tim Hardaway Jr.'s price tag is too high for them. With the 20th pick in the draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Isaiah Hartenstein from Germany. The Blazers might want to invest in a player like Hartenstein because of his offensive potential. He has a strong and agile 7-foot frame for rebounding, defending, and attacking the hoop. He scores really well in the post and has a variety of moves, but he is still young and unrefined. I'm not sure if he's planning on playing in the NBA next season, but Hartenstein could be a nice addition for the Blazers in the future. OKC shooting guards and small forwards seem to generally fit into 2 categories: shooters who couldn't defend, or good defenders who couldn't shoot consistently. Russell Westbrook didn't have enough shooting or scoring help from solid two-way players. That's one thing that separated this team to James Harden and the Houston Rockets: offensive support who are not a liability on defense. With the 21st pick in the draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Rodions Kurucs from Latvia. He's a prototypical wing who is a natural at scoring the basketball. Kurucs can shoot from deep, hit the mid-range, and take it all the way to the rim. He most likely won't come into the NBA right away. He could play the next season or two in Spain ACB League, a great league to prepare for the NBA. The Brooklyn Nets ended up with the worst record in the league and a total of 21 players suited up in uniform this past season. Despite the bad record, there were some positive signs. The 2 draft picks, Karis LeVert and Isaiah Whitehead, showed good improvement and proved they could be legit NBA players. And also, the Nets would have been a much better team if Jeremy Lin had been healthy for most of the season. With 2 first-round picks in this draft, the Nets need the best talent available, no matter how long they will have to wait for the prospect to develop or if they have to recover from an injury. With the 22nd pick in the draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Ike Anigbogu from UCLA. Ike won't bring any immediate offensive game to the table. He can make a huge impact as a rim protector. Last season, he blocked 3.7 shots per 40 minutes. This guy has a great physical profile. At the NBA Combine, he measured in at 6'10", 250 pounds with a 7'6" wingspan. You can envision Anigbogu as a Clint Capella or a DeAndre Jordan type, a defensive big and high percentage finisher who will impact the game with his physical tools and mobility. The Toronto Raptors have achieved and progressed a lot over the last couple of years, but they have been beaten by the Cavaliers twice, led by the best player in this generation. But they have been constantly adding to the roster and trying to give the team the best chance to get over the top. Draft picks and trades are probably the only avenue to get better this offseason. Kyle Lowry and Serge Ibaka are both free agents, and they wouldn't have cap space left to pursue other free agents if they re-signed both. With the 23rd pick in the draft, the Toronto Raptors select Ivan Rabb from the University of California. Rabb is a promising interior scorer, a skilled rebounder, and offers potential to be a stretch 4 because of his good shooting form. He shows good footwork in the post and is developing a solid back-to-the-basket game. Even though he needs to add strength to bang with the bigs down low, he's a good shot blocker, has very quick hands, and good defensive awareness. The Utah Jazz battled through injuries in both the regular season and the playoffs, and proved they are a team to be dealt with in the future. But re-signing Haywood, along with George Hill and maybe Joe Ingles, is crucial. Utah could look to package one of both first-round picks to move up or trade them to bring in a veteran player, as was the case last year when they traded the 12th pick for George Hill. Finding a wing player for the future and a big man to back up Rudy Gobert could be the direction they choose. With the 24th pick in the draft, the Utah Jazz select Luke Kennard from Duke University. Kennard didn't enter the season as a surefire first-round pick. As the season went along, he emerged as Duke's best player, and he started getting first-round consideration. The 6'6" wing is great at catching and shooting from long range, and he also can attack closeouts and connect from mid-range. Not an explosive athlete, but plays with crafty quickness. He's a solid team defender who should have enough strength to hold his own against NBA 2 guards. At this point, the Jazz cannot depend on Alec Burks to be available, and it might be time to move on. With the 25th pick in the draft, the Orlando Magic select DJ Wilson from the University of Michigan. This 6'10" sophomore forward has stretch 4 written all over him. He was lights out in postseason play, shooting 32 out of 50 on three-pointers, combined in the Big Ten and NCAA tournaments. He also showed intriguing potential with the ability to block shots. He handles the ball good for a player his size, but he had his moments where he got pushed around and turned the ball over. He has a lot of areas of improvement, but there's no doubt he has potential. With the 26th pick in the draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Kasha Mushidi from Germany. Mushidi is a tall, athletic combo guard that has an intriguing set of skills. He has good form on his jump shot, which has resulted in improved shooting over the years. Mushidi plays with a lot of tenacity and intensity. Defensively, he possesses a lot of promise. He has good athleticism, which leads to a lot of block shots, and has good hands that allow him to get steals. As of right now, Mushidi is a project who has the physical tools and potential to become a vital part of a good team. With the 27th pick in the draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Harry Giles from Duke University. The 6'11" former top recruit is a risk-reward option whose ceiling is just as high as anybody's. If his needs check out and he looks sharp in workouts, he'll be worth the gamble for the Brooklyn Nets. He has the length, the strength, and a ton of natural talent to be a starting power forward. He isn't the best shot creator, but he has a nose for the ball on the glass. Developing a consistent jumper could be crucial for his future if he never regained the same explosiveness he had in high school before the injuries. With the 28th pick in the draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Bam Adebayo from the University of Kentucky. If the Lakers need anything, it's a defensive player. The biggest strength for Adebayo is his physical tools. He's a powerful and quick leaper who has a really good combination of length, strength, and quickness. He also does have a 15-foot jumper. He doesn't look to shoot it often, but he has good form, and you see it when he's at the free throw line. But in order for Adebayo to play in the league for 10 years, he needs to consistently hit the jump shot and develop more post moves. Initially, he can lean on his athleticism and defense. One of the most consistent franchises in the last 20 years may look different next year. Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker have been a staple of the Spurs dynasty, and both might not be on the squad next year. Ginobili is a free agent, and Tony Parker's season ended with an injury, and they may look to trade or waive him to bring in another point guard, or they just might let DeJounte Murray take over the position. Danny Green and Paul Gasol look older by the game, so drafting a talented two-guard or a big man should be considered for the Spurs in the first round. With the 29th pick in the draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Andris Passagians from Lafayette. Passagians stands 7'2" with long arms and a wiry frame. He brings a combination of size and great mobility, both in the open court and half court. While Passagians isn't strong enough to power through significant contact yet, he still is a great finisher due to his finesse around the rim. He will be able to use his finesse finishing and smooth lateral mobility to compensate for his lack of strength. With the 30th pick in the draft, the Utah Jazz select Jonathan John from France. John is a very athletic big man who possesses a rare physical profile. At the combine, he measured in at nearly 7'2", a wingspan of 7'6", and a ridiculous 9'5" standing reach. He has similar tools to the player he could be backing up in Rudy Gobert. John shows the ability to rebound, defend, catch lobs, and even shoot from the outside. But he definitely needs time to bulk up his body to hold his own on the next level. He's only around 200 pounds for a 7-footer. John is a project, and he has all the tools and potential to be a Gobert-like player in the future. It would be nice not to lose too much production when the backup comes in. While the vast majority of hype surrounding the draft goes to the first round, the second round will be flooded with first-round talent. The second round has produced some of the league's most underrated talent in consistent fashion. We've seen a number of competitive NBA teams get major contributions in recent years, from Draymond Green to Isaiah Thomas.
Top bumping got the bass check. We got a problem. We got a problem.